This set of exercises is known as Xiaoyao Bu, which translated from Chinese means something like careless wandering. So there is a sort of philosophical backgrounds behind this kind of form. So the bare minimum Taoist lifestyle didn't really consider any goods like from the material world, and the best ever lifestyle was just wandering around the world, not having anything at all, and being absolutely free. And the matter of motion, like the steps on their own, is just like the symbol of freedom. But it doesn't only have the symbolic meaning behind it, but rather very like both medical and a bit of metaphorical as well. So, an ancient Chinese saying tells us that the matter of getting old comes from the legs. So, if you have a look at kids, then you see they are running everywhere. They are very active. They can jump, they can sit down, stand up without any issues. But when you are getting older, you are not as fluent as kids are, and you are no longer moving that smoothly and nicely like the kids do. And the reason for that is because what is known as the internal life energy, also known as chi, it just um, can't drop down anymore, and it just like goes up uh, to the head, to the brains, because we are starting to know everything about this world, meanwhile losing every single wonder in regards to this world. So, what usually happens when we are living our lives, like getting experience, but the price for that experience is we are sort of narrowing the scope of how we observe the world. And instead of like sensing the world without any interpretation with our hearts, we instead building a sort of a picture of the world in our heads based on like social, political, and whatever other circumstances, which no longer correlates with reality really. And as the result, we are getting old. And when we are getting old, we are no longer capable of like flow naturally. So the idea behind this forms, like these steps, the way they were developed by Chinese master of Tai Chi Chuan, his name was Gai Lide, and my teacher has been uh, learning these steps from the guy who has been uh, a student of Gai Lide for like when Gai Lide was about 80 years old. That was in 90s, if I'm not mistaken, and up until his very death. So sort of a traditional, regional transferring of this. It's not really the matter of knowledge, but rather the matter of flow, I would say. So the idea behind these forms, behind these steps in particular, is to rewind the life back, and that's one of the core principles behind the Taoist philosophy. We can only maintain our picture of the world if we stand still. But if we are moving, we're no longer capable of doing that. And this is the major practice intended to, it's not really to destroy the picture of your world, but rather not making that um, really like hard coded, like trying to make that flexible. And this matter of flexibility is reflected within this ability to flow naturally. And walking is the most natural, the most essential practice to achieve that. From the medical perspective, this forms has been known for healing the scars on your heart. So if you have like an operation with your heart, And after the operation, there is the scar, like in there. And like the traditional medicine doesn't really consider to be possible, like uh, this scars to disappear. But this practice has been showing this kind of results. And even not in China, but here in Ukraine, um, there was a really good doctor who was studying along with my teacher, and he died unfortunately. He was a cardiosurgeon and was making these operations, and then he had a class, recovery class. So the idea is that after you had that operation, you really need to recover. And walking is the most natural way to recover basically anything. So this is all about rewinding back recovery. And the idea is very simple. Um, every time you make a step, relaxation occurs. And the major source of attention comes from the head basically. So we are thinking too much in this world. It doesn't really help, but we still do that constantly. But when we are walking, like one of the most essential things to maintain during this practice is to have a sort of a mental state, like if you're young, like 20 years old, for instance, and you're walking somewhere in the forest, careless, not in terms of you don't care, but in terms of you're free from those cares. So you don't have to be in a hurry to get just right in time to do something. So it's like a vacation, like a never-ending vacation. Like you like feel really like just walking with no particular reason, and that makes you calm, happy, and relaxed. And quite interestingly, when I've been learning this form from a teacher, this was, yes, exactly when I was 20, which is really interesting. So, and indeed, we have been practicing in the forest, like for about 50 kilometers away from the city. And he was telling this instructions, he was given these instructions like you need to relax and you need to try not to think about like all of these things bothering you. And imagine like you are 20 years old, the entire life is lying under your legs, so everything is still possible. So something absolutely opposite to the narrow scope of an adult consciousness, basically. And it was really, really hard for me to imagine that because I was indeed 20 years old and I was tensed. I wanted lots of things, and it's really funny to recall that now, really. But now I'm 35, and now I do understand that when I was 20, I really didn't have pretty much anything to care about. And indeed, when I look back to my life, I do realize that the way I've been living back then was really something like to this careless wandering, like the name of the poem states. And it's quite interesting that despite the fact that I knew this form for about 15 years, yeah, but I didn't quite practice that earlier because, in order to rewind your life, you probably first need to fast forward it. And yes, martial arts is something that fast forwards your life. Like when I say martial arts, it's not obviously to put the boxer gloves on your fists and try to hit someone. That's just our everyday life because we are fighting all of the time, and like, Korea or whatever. So whenever you look, there's fighting, and this fighting, there's like the social relationships, politics. whatever. So everything is about fighting, everything about fast forward in your life. And then just life gets to its end and you don't even realize like how did this happen? Because you're about to die in the next few moments, but you don't feel like you've been living. So that's the scenario to avoid at any cost. And until it's not too late, it's really time to start thinking about this. To start thinking about those things that really matters.